What if Robert Baratheon was reborn with all his memories? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. The funeral procession rounds along the winding roads of the Kingswood, preparing for the final leg of the journey back to Storm's End. There, the remains of Robert Baratheon will at last be laid to rest. The procession was not large, barely 200 men, and a few minor lords. Many of the Stormlords would have gladly made the journey south to take the late king's body back to his seat, yet few had the opportunity. Cersei had insisted that his body leave the city as soon as possible. Even if that wasn't the case, the outbreak of the war left tensions high, as most Stormlanders had declared for Renly and were now massing in Bitterbridge to join the Tyrells. This leaves only a handful of lesser lords and a few Gold Cloaks, with the task of bringing the king home. The journey is long and tense, as many fear coming under attack. Yet, as they enter the Stormlands, they begin to relax. Lord Renly has no reason to prevent them from arriving. As they pass Bronzegate and near the Rainwood, the men leave the major twins behind them, and that is when they hear the horns. From the trees, they hear the sound of hoofbeats, and the lordlings all gasp, reaching for their weapons and bunching closer together. Gold Cloaks try to form a protective circle, looking for the enemy in the trees. Then, at last, they see them, a mounted screen accompanied by a column of infantry. The Crownlanders look around, trying to search for any banners or badges, but find none. The men are dressed in unmarked mail and boiled leather, looking closer to free riders and sellswords than a true army. But whatever they are, they will fight. They do not charge right away, letting their infantry rain arrows upon them before the cavalry surrounds them and their commander shouts orders.
All right, you fucking bastards. Lay down your weapons and no one gets hurt.
A few knights protest, but the Gold Cloaks look at one another. These men outnumber them almost 2 to 1, and many drop their weapons. A few try to fight and are cut down, and the rest are taken captive. Once they are secured, the free riders take hold of the coffin and secure it behind a wagon, before pulling a tarp over it. With their job done, only then do they raise their banner, the flaming heart of House Baratheon of Dragonstone. This force races back to the coast, where a small flotilla of ships is waiting for them. These take them back to the castle where Stannis is waiting. He stands along the battlements, observing the column return. He barely spares a glance towards the prisoners. They might be valuable to ransom, but they are of little interest to him. What gets his attention is the coffin, the remains of his brother. Though the Baratheon brothers had little love for each other, it still feels wrong to desecrate his brother's funeral procession. He spares a glance toward the red woman standing by his side. She does not say a thing, simply watching them as well.
You had best be right, woman. I risk much by intercepting my brother's funeral procession like this.
It is not my will, but the Lord of Lights.
I don't care who commands it. If it fails, it shall be you atop the pyre next.
Melisandre says nothing. She simply looks at the men in the attack force and gestures for them to take the body to the ritual site. Many were Queen's men and eager to obey. They take him to the building that once had been a sept. Since then, it was christened into a shrine to Roller, and there they laid out Robert Baratheon's body upon an altar surrounded by candles. Around him is a circle made of black and gray powder, the ashes of unbelievers. Once she is alone, Melisandre begins to chant. She raises her arms over her head and lets her voice rise alongside it. Her voice peaks, and the candles begin to flicker, billowing slightly, as if buffeted by the wind. Yet the doors are closed. She lays her hands atop Robert's cold flesh, closing her eyes and praying for life. Melisandre searches for Roller, pleading with him to raise his new servant. It had all been foretold in the flames. The realm must stand united if they are to defeat the Great Other, and Robert had united the realm once. He must do it again. Those same visions she had seen began to play out in her mind once again. Melisandre lets them fuel her, guiding her powers as her arms begin to burn. She feels the fire flowing through them and chants louder, pouring that passion and heat into Robert. Around her, the candles blaze, and she can feel the heat tingling her skin. Then, at last, they die out, bathing the room in darkness. And then, a gasp. A sound from her side as someone rises.
Where am I?
You are on Dragonstone, Your Grace. You have been reborn in the fires. Welcome, King Robert.
His hand grabs her by the throat and lifts her off the ground.
What are you talking about, woman? I died. I felt it myself. Where is Ned? And where is Stannis, for that matter?
The king will see you then.
He drops her to the ground and storms out. As he makes his way through the castle, guards immediately drop to their knees and bow before him. Their eyes widen and their faces pale as they see the king walking amongst them again. Some seem excited, others muttered prayers to their gods, and others look at him as though he were a god. Clayton Scuggs and his ilk. Those are the worst as Robert resists the urge to spit. They take him to the chamber of the painted table, where Stannis is studying it, looking at troop movements and positioning figures representing the warring factions. A quick glance at it already tells Robert enough. There is a war, one more complicated than he has ever fought.
You're back.
There is no affection in his voice, or surprise.
Isn't that what you wanted? Now you can tell me what the hell is happening. You died, and after you fell to that boar, the realm fell apart into war. The Lannisters have crowned Joffrey as king. Meanwhile, both Renly and I have started our own claims, while Robb Stark has declared independence. You are all fighting for my kingdom. Are you mad? I have a son, 2 sons. What makes you think you can usurp? They are not your sons. It was discovered that they are bastards born of incest by Cersei and Jaime Lannister. Jon Arryn had discovered and told me, and Ned Stark learned about it shortly before your death.
To prove his point, Stannis produces a letter that Ned had sent him before he died. It urges him to come to King's Landing and claim his seat, confirming everything Stannis had just said. Robert takes it and reads it. His heart clenches as he examines what it says. His blood turns cold once again, while his fingers tighten on the paper, threatening to rip it up. He nearly does, but Stannis manages to control him. Barely. When he finishes, he drops the letter to the ground.
Where is Ned? What does he have to say about this?
For the first time, a flicker of sympathy crosses his face as he hesitates. Stannis bows his head and remains silent.
Dead. Ned Stark was executed by Joffrey and Cersei for trying to expose the truth. It is also why his son is now declaring independence. Then what the hell are we doing here? We need an army. You think I don't want to crush the Lannisters? But I lack the manpower to do it. You said that Renly called his banners. Then let's use him. He saw fit to declare himself king. Will he set aside his crown now? He might not, but don't forget, his bannermen served me just a month ago.
Within weeks, the fleet sets sail yet again. Not just a small flotilla, but the entire fleet, and with it, the army, numbering little more than 5,000 men. Yet they sail with full confidence, not just because of Stannis and his abilities, but also Robert. While many are stunned by his arrival and try to make sense of it, they come to accept it and the king's presence. It is made easier, as Robert remains almost the same. He still laughs like he did in life, he drinks heavily, and still enjoys listening to bawdy tales. But there is something else about him, a line of sadness in his eyes as he tries to understand why he has returned, and he sees just how much the realm has fallen apart right after his death. While he wants to bellow at his small council for their foolishness, he knows that the fault is not theirs alone. He was the king, and that was his responsibility as much as anyone else. Rather than strike at King's Landing, they sail south, directly to the Stormlands, where Stannis and Robert move to draw Renly out. With only a few thousand men, there is one thing they can do, and it is to lay siege to Storm's End. Hearing that Stannis had struck at his sea, Renly could not ignore it and responded just as they had expected. He rides at the head of a vast army, consisting not just of his Stormlanders, but also of his Reachmen. It is even better, as this shall ensure that more houses are won over. When they arrive, they number close to 30,000, and dwarf the Dragonstone army that huddles along the coast of Storm's End, breaking off the siege to face this oncoming threat. Yet, whatever they do, the odds are heavily stacked against them, and Renly knows it. Rather than starving them out, he moves closer, adding more pressure and risking a battle for the sake of bringing it to a quick end. Renly himself rides at the front, accompanied by his Rainbow Guard. He surveys their battle lines and sees the strangest thing. Most of the banners bear the fiery stag of Stannis, but one banner rises higher than even those royal colors. It has the yellow-crowned stag of House Baratheon. At first, Renly assumes that it is Stannis and is about to direct his troops to attack him, but this man steps forward, moving through the lines.
They appear to be sending an emissary. Seems my brother isn't as foolish as I first thought. He knows that he cannot win this battle. Should we meet with him? He put all this effort into getting my attention. Why not?
As the men draw closer, they see he is wearing Baratheon armor, plate, and tall antlers sticking out from his helmet. They assume that it is Stannis, but something feels off. His gait is confident but relaxed. He seems even bigger, and there is something strangely familiar about him. When he is within arrow shot, the figure removes his armor, and everyone falls silent. It is Robert. Loras drops his sword, and Renly's confident smile vanishes. Around him, his men's mouths hang open, and one lets out a startled gasp. Robert says nothing until he's almost beside him, in full view of the army. He favors them with a smile, and rests the banner on his shoulder.
What? You look like you've seen a ghost, brother.
You were killed.
Sadly, yes. But I lived. Now, what is this business of you declaring yourself king?
Well, what would you have had me do? You were dead, and the Lannisters took over the crown. Someone needed to take command of the realm and help them resist the Lannisters.
It seems like Robb Stark and Stannis have been doing a good job challenging them.
Stannis? You saw the size of his army. How do you expect him to stop the Lannisters with that strength of his? And the Starks? They've declared themselves independent from the Seven Kingdoms.
And was that before or after you abandoned Ned Stark? Yes, I heard about that too. Tell me, why was that? From cowardice or ambition?
Renly's face darkens. He bites his lip and then starts to inch back. Meanwhile, even the Rainbow Guard appears confused and a bit conflicted. They had backed Renly because he was the most viable successor, and yet with Robert, things have started to change. Robert let him sweat for a moment before letting out a grin.
No, Renly. Don't fret. I'm not here to condemn you, but I hope you do understand I will not allow you two to destroy each other. Not while the Lannisters remain on the loose.
Of course. That's why I gathered this army. I was intending to recapture King's Landing.
No. We are not taking this city. My treasonous wife can wait. For now, we are marching into the Riverlands and crushing the Lannister army. Robb Stark requires our aid.
This time, both Stannis and Renly are taken off guard.
Robb Stark?
Are you mad? He's declared independence. He is now a traitor to all the kings. If he wants our aid, he should be offering his fealty freely. And he's the only one fighting the Lannisters and doing a good job of it. If he wants to declare independence, let him. He's earned it after everything we've put him through. Brother, this would cause a lot of trouble in the realm. Others might think you weak. Most of all, the Lannisters. I don't care. They murdered my friend. Now let me ask you, will you be fighting alongside me?
Are you asking us as our brother, or as our king?
Does it matter?
Later that night, the army marches out. Not multiple factions, but one single one. The Fiery Heart marches alongside the Crowned Stag, and 3 Baratheons ride together toward the Starks. Smoke coils into the sky as the Baratheon-led host rides hard through the scorched remains of yet another Riverland village. Blackened fields stretch along the road, and corpses hang from trees like fruits. Others are left out to rot on the ground alongside livestock. Houses are broken husks, burned to their frames, and still warm from the fire. Robert Baratheon pulls his horse to a halt, his face dark and quiet as he takes in the carnage. He says nothing. The weight in his chest grows heavier with each mile. They had spoken of war before, of glory, of banners and charges, but this is not war. This is a ruin, and more importantly, a war of his doing. While his men speak of Lannister aggression and Lannister brutality, Robert knows what is underneath. He had been the one to embolden them through inaction. He'd allowed them to rise higher and then did nothing. He thinks back to the times he had avoided pushing them, the death of the Targaryen children, Jaime attacking Ned, and all of the appointments he had made to appease Lord Tywin.
There is not much glory here, is there? No, there isn't. But it feels different than during the rebellion. Of course, back then, you had been a rebel. But now you are responsible for the lives of the people here. What lives? There is no one left. The people will return, brother. And they will need help rebuilding their homes. And if not, you still owe it to them to avenge them and grant them justice.
Soon enough, scouts return with news. The Lannister host, under Sir Adam Marbrand, has made camp along the Red Fork. Their crossing is blocked by the Riverland army, who are trying to prevent them from returning to the Westerlands. Robert wastes no time. He gives the order to advance. It is a perfect opportunity to strike them. The storm breaks. The riverfolk are already engaging in battle across a dozen crossing points. They rush to fight off the Lannister army that surges on the streams and rivers. Some fight in the waist-deep shallows, others rain down arrows across advancing men. In some points, the riverfolk even launch barges to strike at their rear. But still, the Lannisters fight on. They rush forward, braving the arrows and spears, fighting past walks of pikes and bracing themselves for the attack. In the fiercest fighting, the Westermen manage to secure a foothold where their armies at last make landfall and battle with the armies of the Riverlords on equal footing. With that, they manage to begin crossing and gathering a small army on one side. But while it might seem like they are finally breaking through, Stannis' soldiers move like a hammer and are joined by Renly's knights. They smash into the Lannister flank. Robert leads the charge at the center, his hammer rising and falling like a thunderclap. Though he's older, he remains fierce as ever. Red cloaks scatter, lions scream. He does not hide himself. He roars and raises his banner up high, shouting defiantly. He looks like an avenging ghost and denounces the Lannisters, calling them traitors. The sight of him leaves men scattering. Some throw down their weapons and surrender, others run away, and more fall. Then, as the fighting rages, a new host arrives. Riverlords under the Trout banner of House Tully crash into the Lannisters' rear. Admiral Tully rides at the front, his sword slick with blood, shouting orders that are quickly drowned out by the chaos. These reserves at last advance to break the Lannister foothold. The battle doesn't last long. By nightfall, the field is quiet. The Lannister host is broken, their dead littering the banks. What few survive flee north or surrender. Robert stands on a rise above the carnage, sweat and blood streaking his face, watching the blackened clouds stretch across the horizon. Robert walks alone through the ruins of a hamlet near the battlefield. A child's doll lies in the ash. A cradle is overturned near the splintered remains of a cottage. He stares at it for a long time. Footsteps crunch behind him. Edmure Tully approaches, armor stained, face pale.
It's worse further west. Some villages, nothing left but bone and smoke.
This is what came of my reign. I'm sorry. I sat on the Iron Throne. I drank, I hunted, I pissed away peace. And this is what I left behind.
He doesn't wait for a response. He mounts up and rides back to camp, silent. But as he leaves, he makes a vow that this shall be different. Days later, the Northman host arrives. They had heard of the victory in the Red Fork, and Robb Stark rides back with all haste. Banners fluttering in the breeze show direwolves, trout, and their bannermen standing side by side. At the head, Robb Stark sits tall in the saddle, Grey Wind at his side, eyes narrowed. At first, Robb braces for the worst. Then he sees the combined banners, the fiery heart, the crowned stag, the silver chalice of the Reach, all riding together. At the center of them, a man too large to be Stannis, too relaxed in the saddle to be Renly, but impossibly familiar. Robert Baratheon rides forward, flanked by knights who fall back as he approaches alone.
No, that's not possible. You died.
I got better. You've grown.
Gasps echo behind Robb. Even Grey Wind growls uncertainly.
What are you doing here? You were dead.
I was, but I've come back. I do not know how. All I know is I've come to make things right.
Is that why you rode against the Lannisters?
It is. Beside your Uncle Edmure. We broke them. Now I fight for justice. For your father. For the realm I failed. And if it matters, I name you true. You did what no one else had the spine to do. You were right to fight. You earned the right to call yourself king. If you do not wish to remain in the Seven Kingdoms, I will not stop you.
I am Robb Stark, and I set aside the title of king. I do not need a crown to lead my people. If you fight for Ned Stark, then you are a true friend of the Starks.
With that, Northern independence ends, not with a bang, but with a peaceful whimper. Robb and Edmure both gladly pledge their forces to Robert, who now has almost all of the kingdoms by his side. Though many Northmen return home to deal with the Ironborn threat, a handful under Robert Glover marches to King's Landing and lays siege to it along with their southern allies. By now, any hope of reinforcements is gone as the capital hears of Tywin's defeat. The city might be able to hold out for a short time, but it doesn't even last that long, as most of the Gold Cloaks simply choose to surrender. They open the gates for Robert and his men, who take the city peacefully. Strict discipline is enforced to ensure that they maintain themselves. Stannis only allows small bands of soldiers into the city at a time, and those who break the rules are severely punished. Even the guards of the Red Keep open the gates when they catch a glimpse of Robert. Cersei is dragged out after trying to poison herself. She thrashes and fights, pulling against her guards while being led away. When she catches a glimpse of Robert, her face hardens, and she struggles once again.
You? What are you doing still alive?
What I should have been doing before. Ruling.
You think that this rule will be any different? Your rule will always be cursed. You've always been an oaf and a brute before, and now you are also a monster. A creature born of the vilest magics.
Enough. Even if what you say is true, my brother will never be half as monstrous as you, my lady. And that's with the magic.
As she is led away, Robert eases himself back onto the Iron Throne and is left to ponder what to do as he overlooks his ruined kingdom. The next few days are a flurry of activity. Many of those in court are ordered to swear allegiance to the king once more. Some are sincere, and others aren't, and some never get the chance. Robert's first act is to begin clearing the house. He executes those members of the court who had enabled him the most: Pycelle, Littlefinger, and Varys, along with most of the Kingsguard. Cersei and Joffrey are both executed as well, leaving the Lannisters to be ruled by Kevan, who quickly pledges his sword to Robert. With that done comes the need to fill the new seats of the small council. Many great lordlings expect rewards for their service, but they are utterly disappointed. Robert has learned that there are many flatterers in court and does not reward them. He grants some minor titles and rewards, but only appoints men of talent into his small council under the advisement of Stannis. Meanwhile, Renly helps smooth intentions by offering some other rewards like lands, titles, and gold to bannermen who had backed them. This allows a short and tenuous peace to last throughout the realm. With that, Robert turns his attention to destroying the remaining resistance to his rule. Robert uses the Lannister and Redwyne fleets to invade the Iron Islands, striking them while they try to plunder the north. While much of the realm is divided, fighting Ironborn is something that most of them eagerly sign up for, providing some much-needed unity for them. Though Balon sends his longships out against the combined might of the Seven Kingdoms, it is a poor match, and their fleet is soon sent to the bottom of the ocean. But even as the last rebel warship sinks, a new crisis emerges. Though no great lord raises his banners, there are whispers of unrest. These come from the lowest rungs of society, the small folk and the sparrows who begin to preach to the population, rallying against the brutality and excess of the nobility. In particular, many question the return of Robert. While many see it as a miracle from the Seven, others suggest Robert may not have even died. The sparrows preach something else. They talk about how Robert had consorted with foreign gods and demons to come back to life, and is an easy target for the sparrows' attacks, even beyond the accusations of his affiliation with the Red Woman. His most ardent supporters acknowledge that Robert is a man of excess, feasting, whoring, and hunting despite the realm in bankruptcy. While he tries to curb it, many are not convinced, and continue to regard him as a drunkard and a man driven by vice. It doesn't hurt that Robert supports the rise of the Red God. In the aftermath of the war, Melisandre begins construction of a temple of light in King's Landing, as well as smaller temples across the Seven Kingdoms. This is met with fury from pious smallfolk and the sparrows, who see Robert as bartering off their faith. The High Sparrow, who emerges as the leader, accuses Robert of being controlled by a foreign god and delivering the kingdom into his hands. While it starts as harsh words, things soon escalate into violence as they begin to terrorize the practitioners of R'hllor. They chase them through the streets, stand outside temples, and curse them, or even attack them on the street. Reports from the Queen's men grow increasingly frantic and concerned. They talk of men who are attacked in the villages while traveling, or in Flea Bottom, where it is harder to enforce the people. Others leave messages, referring to Robert as a demon and calling for his removal.
Give me 500 men and leave to do what is necessary. I can make these sparrows squawk.
Eager for blood as ever. You best control your men before we start another war. Allow me to speak to these lords. Perhaps they can bring their small folk under control.
You assume their lords are not aware, but they may well be encouraging this.
We do not know that for certain, my lords. If we jump to conclusions, we might risk further alienating the nobles and bringing another war to our doorstep.
So many questions, and yet so few answers. Let me look through the flames, and I shall provide you with the answers you seek.
Enough. You all speak of what these people have done, but not what might be causing it.
Indeed. Many of these places have been devastated by war. These people are desperate, and the small folk are furious. Faith is the only thing that can comfort them. Make it seem like there is hope.
So we are to bleed because they cannot find meaning in their god. Perhaps we can do something and win for their support. If only the gods can give them purpose, then we must change that.
Stannis nods in approval as he agrees, and they begin pouring aid to badly affected areas. Rather than leaving them only for the local lords to prepare, the crown provides fresh loans and men, queensmen specifically. Stannis ordered these people to begin winning over the small folk. The sparrows win through preaching and alms, and now the children of R'hllor do the same. In the ruins of villages, new houses begin to rise. Stables, inns, a market, and homes. Stannis oversees the project with his same iron discipline, ensuring no money is stolen and there is no violence. While the Queen's men are put to work, a contingent of knights is ready to punish rule breakers. While the Middle Baratheon takes care of the operations, Renly and Edmure handle the people. They meet with local lords and small folk. There they hear stories, dine with them, and personally provide cash support to them. All of this slowly wins them over. The High Sparrow might call them demon whisperers, but it is difficult to consider them that when they are the ones rebuilding their towns. To their surprise, Robert even makes an effort to be there. He doesn't just visit or give them a quick look. He truly makes an effort to be present and understand the small folk. It is an unprecedented move by him, but one that the people welcome. Robert's natural charisma helps start to win them over. Soon enough, the High Sparrow finds himself starting to lose support, as few people wish to challenge the ruling elite. Even when the Queen's men begin to erect temples of R'hllor, they find little reason to complain. The peace and support the crown has granted them are more valuable than any sermons they give. The chamber is quieter than usual. The usual courtiers and flatterers are absent today. Robert has made sure of it. Only the small council remains. Stannis leans over a map. Davos watches quietly. Renly lounges in his chair, fingers tapping a goblet. Melisandre stands in the shadows, and Edmure studies plans for a new repair effort. And then, the High Sparrow enters. He walks humbly but boldly, robes stained with ash and dirt. His eyes rise to meet Robert's.
You've been quiet of late.
The Seven speak louder in silence, Your Grace, but the people still listen. Even if you try to replace their faith with fire.
I don't need to replace their faith. Just give it a new direction. You speak of purity, of sin, of justice. You name me a beast for rising from the dead, a drunk, a whoremonger. Maybe I am, but I know something you don't. Another fire is rising, and it's not from my red woman's flames. It's across the sea.
He unrolls a fresh parchment, a map of Slaver's Bay.
Daenerys Targaryen, the last dragon. She claims freedom, but conquers cities in fire and blood. She crucifies nobles and unleashes slaves without a plan. You think I'm dangerous?
She is a world away, in a foreign land.
Which is why she needs your help. In a foreign land she may be, but she is still a woman of Westeros. She longs for the Seven Kingdoms, but I will not grant her that. Instead, I offer an alternative. Bringing parts of the Seven Kingdom to her. Bring your guard, your followers, and your aid. She tears down temples and leaves chaos behind. You want to save souls? Then go there. Preach your seven in Meereen, in Yunkai, in Astapor. Show them what true faith looks like.
The High Sparrow frowns. He doesn't respond.
A crusade. That's what he's offering.
What? Are we expecting zealotry now?
I'm giving the sparrows a purpose. They want to fight, let them. They want to spread the Seven's justice, let them do it where chaos rules. Surely they can see the evil of slavery.
The room goes silent.
She still has dragons, Your Grace.
Then we'll bring more than sermons. I'll raise an expedition. Volunteers only. Sparrows, Queen's men, sellswords. Anyone else who wants to go. We'll send ships, gold, food, and steel. You said I was a demon. Now I offer you a holy war. What say you?
The fleet is massive. Dozens of ships bearing new banners. A crowned stag in one corner and the seven-pointed star in the other. R'hllor's flame flies beside them. Strange bedfellows united by a shared cause. The army is a strange one. Queen's men ride beside barefoot sparrows. Hedge knights sharpen blades next to fire-preaching red priests. Septims give sermons, while smiths forge weapons on deck. Among them is Sir Clayton Scuggs, clad in black mail. Behind them rides a column of armored zealots, many carrying torches and books. They call themselves the Faithborn.
You sure they're rebuilding the Unsullied in Astapor? Scouts confirm it. New slavers took control after Daenerys moved. They're trying to recapture her gains. The city's ripe for a reckoning.
Then let's give them one.
The attack comes before dawn. The Faithborn march under the cover of darkness, followed by fire-wielding priests who set the outer defenses ablaze. Crossbowmen scale the walls. From the rear, Queensmen drag battering rams into position. Meanwhile, sparrows chant hymns as they push forward through the alleys. The defenders, mercenaries, slavers, and a few newly trained Unsullied are caught completely off guard. They expect pirates or disorganized rebels at best. Daenerys' army is bottled up in Meereen. They do not expect an organized fanatical crusade from Westeros. By mid-morning, the walls are breached. The gates fall. Robert rides through the breach at the head of the charge, hammer in hand. He leads from the front, battering through enemy lines with righteous fury. His cloak blazes with firelight. For many defenders, the sight is too much. They flee rather than fight. By nightfall, Astapor falls. The Unsullied being trained are freed again. The new slavers are put to the sword or taken prisoner. A sept is raised on the bones of a slave market. Roller's red temple rises beside it. As they watch the firestones being laid, Robert takes a sip of his drink and chuckles.
So, let me get this straight. You've given Zealots a war, the Queen's men a mission, and you rid yourself of a potential invasion. All in one campaign.
Sometimes the gods agree with me. Or sometimes your madness aligns with strategy. I will admit, it is a clever ploy.
Indeed. I never thought you had it in you.
Now the only question remains. How do we greet this queen?
I think we'll leave that to you and our little sparrow.
The wind is low. The sea unusually calm. A black-sailed galley slips through the blockade under the cover of night, its hull smeared with pitch and ash to avoid torchlight. On the deck stands Robert Baratheon, cloaked in dark mail, his hair touched with gray but eyes alert and steady. Beside him, draped in plain robes, stands the High Sparrow, silent, hands folded in prayer. In the distance, Meereen burns. Fires flicker along the walls where the siege tightens, and from the sea, iron warships hold a crescent line, blocking the last Targaryen city. But this ship does not falter. They sail into the Dragon Queen's waters under a banner of truce. The doors slam open. Daenerys Stormborn sits upon a high dais, framed by black pillars and dragon carvings. Beside her, Missandei reads aloud a list of titles. Grey Worm remains stoic. Ser Barristan leans in his seat, already frowning at the Westerosi arrivals. Robert enters first, tall and thunderous, his hammer left at the door, but his presence no less dangerous. The High Sparrow follows behind, head bowed. Under them, her Unsullied close in with spears raised.
I have imagined this moment for many years, King Robert. But do I call you something else now? Usurper? Revenant? Relic? You come under the banner of peace, or will you break that oath as well?
I've been called worse, but let's not waste breath on insults. You've heard what happened in Astapor.
Indeed. Am I to thank you for it?
Thank me or not, but take the city. I have no interest in it. I come here with these people to make peace.
Peace? After all you have done to my family? After all the blood on your hands?
If we are to agree about the blood spilled by our houses, we shall be here until the Yunkish breach the walls. If you want me to apologize for Rhaegar, I shall not. He got what he deserved.
How dare you?
The Unsullied tense, but so do Robert's guards, reaching for their swords. However, he quickly gestures for them to stand down and shakes his head.
Do you think me cruel for saying that? He did. He kidnapped a woman, allowed his realm to drown in fire, and stood by while his father barreled into one mad idea after the other.
He was your crown prince?
Which is why the blood spilled in my rebellion lies on his hands, as it does mine. I did not ask to be forced to lead an army at 20, or to be fighting for my life because the king decided I should not live.
It pains me to agree with him, but it is true, Your Grace. The Mad King was a godless man. He saw wisdom in fire just as much as these heathens.
Lies.
If you don't believe me, then ask your knight. But I am not here to fight. I come to negotiate. You want to break chains? So do I. The slavers have returned. You drove them out once. I'll help you do it again. I've already taken Astapor. My brother commands a fleet that can shatter your blockade. My other brother leads 10,000 men outside this city, ready to lift your siege. All I need is your word.
And in return?
Slavers Bay. The whole damn thing. Yours, not Westeros. You leave the realm behind, and I'll help you rule the East. You wanted a kingdom. I'll give you one.
And we bring more than soldiers. We bring faith, a guiding light. These people need more than fire and blood. They've only known chains and oppression. They need salvation. Let the Seven walk your streets. Let them bring peace.
Why should I trust you?
Because if you've been what I've been through, it gives perspective. I do not claim to be the perfect king, and I know my actions have consequences. I've learned that the hard way. I'm here to undo the mistake I made when I let your realm rot, and I hope you don't waste it.
Sir Barristan Selmy steps forward. He bows to Daenerys, then turns to Robert.
Your Grace, when I last saw you, you were a drunkard, but now I see a king. Daenerys Stormborn, may I speak plainly? The alliance is unthinkable, and yet perhaps it is exactly what we need. The slavers will not stop. They regroup. They fester. This army from Westeros is not here to rule you. It is here to fight them. Let them.
Daenerys studies Robert a moment longer. Then she nods.
Very well. We ride together.
The sky turns red as the Baratheon fleet under Stannis arrives from the sea. Catapults roar from enemy ships, but flaming arrows meet them midair. Ballista tear through the hulls. Soon, a gap opens in their lines, and Stannis exploits it immediately. Smaller ships rush through, while his heavier galleys row forward and batter the fleet. They begin to sink enemy galleys and free up supplies and reinforcements to arrive. The troops are greeted with cheers, being thanked and congratulated for their efforts, but they are also ushered into the walls. From the plains, Renly's knights and the Faithborn march in columns, banners snapping. They drive into the enemy siege lines, catching the slavers between hammer and anvil. Queen's men and sparrows shout prayers as they storm the trenches. The sparrows and Faithborn are sent ahead to soften the enemy. Most wear dented mail and oddments of armor, leaving them clashing on the ground outside the city. The fighting is fierce, as there are no fancy formations or careful strategies, just faith and ferocity. The ground is soon littered with them. Renly does this intentionally, letting them weaken the most fanatic of their forces so that the moderates can have more influence after the war. But once they finish, his knights come galloping down, accompanied by their men-at-arms and infantry, which rush into the slaver lines, injecting fresh momentum into the army. From the city, Robert Baratheon and Sir Barristan ride together at the head of Daenerys' forces. They break through the enemy front with the Unsullied and Westerosi fighting side by side.
For the realm, for the freed, for the queen.
They smash through the slaver command post. The enemy army collapses. From above Meereen, Daenerys watches the smoke rise. Her dragons soar above the walls and swoop down, her dragons eagerly picking off the slaver positions where they try to rally their forces. With an attack from the front, behind, and above, there is nothing else they can do except to break. Beneath the striped canvas of the ruined slaver camp, the War Council meets. Daenerys sits across from Robert. Between them lies a map of the East. From there, they sign their peace treaty. The Targaryens shall remain east, with the High Sparrow and his followers setting up a colony there, providing Daenerys with a ready power base. Meanwhile, she renounces all claims to the Seven Kingdoms and recognizes the Baratheon kings. Melisandre watches all of this and smiles. She watches as the realm slowly unifies itself, with Baratheon, Stark, and their allies united, the Targaryens pacified, and the wall standing as Robb reinforces it. The Great Other is pushed back, without an opportunity to invade. For now. That's our theory. Westeros is a land filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey across the Seven Kingdoms and beyond, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.